Welcome back to a brand new episode of Charm City Beat. And Derrick Henry, you are a Raven. Um, wow, free agency out the gates, bro. Shit is crazy already, but nothing more crazier than the Baltimore Ravens securing a running back because we're gonna talk about it. Running backs were going hot. I mean,
Yeah,
I've never seen such a mad dash to running backs in the free agency, and it's been quite a long time. But no, Derrick Henry is here. So let's talk about him, Jordan.
yeah. I feel like we waited, and the patience paid off because we got the king. 2 years, 16 million, $9 million guarantee, which it kind of seems like we got away easy a little bit. This guy is a two-time rushing champion. I think that 90 touchdowns in the last however many years. He's coming off a 1,000 yard season again.
Yep.
Unbelievable. 2020, I think he had 2,000 yards. So it's like this is a guy that is just like to a team that led the NFL in rushing.
Mm-hmm.
Like holy shit! Like watch out, NFL. We went big. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. I'm super about it.
Yeah. No, I'm super stoked. I'm cautiously stoked. Let me make it clear. Because again, while our group chat has been you and Ross virtually champion for Derrick Henry, I had been on the side of, oh, can we get a Josh Jacobs? Can we get, Mixon when he was released? Aaron Jones. I thought all these guys, I was like, Derrick Henry's on the other side of 30. And again, it's like somewhat of a slight decline, which even his slight decline is better than most people's best seasons. Um, but yeah, no, Derrick Henry, the King, as they call him, is now on the Ravens, and sky's the limit from here.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, he's got what 9,500 yards of rushing offense on him, so he's obviously well worn. But he works out really well. I think he conditions really well. I saw an article today about how he just keeps himself in shape, and I think he'll age a bit like fine wine. And I don't think the Ravens will use him 30 rushes a game, like the Titans do. They'll use him 15, 16 times a game. And when you pair him with Lamar Jackson, who's the lightning to his thunder, I do see an opportunity here to make or break these games. And the defenses have to obey him now. They can't just, play a lighter box and, be willing to give up. That's why Gus Edwards did so well. But I think Derrick Henry is a different animal. And so I'm really excited about it. So we'll see what happens. My biggest concern with him is that he needs a lot of carries to get going.
Mhm.
Just from having him in fantasy a couple years, knowing he'd have like 20 yards rushing at the halftime, and then he'd have 200 when the game was over because he broke the dam essentially in the third quarter. And so the Ravens should be cognizant of that. However, I think the way they play their team, they were a good second half running team, mostly, I felt like all year. So
Yeah,
I'm excited about it.
I am excited because again, this is a big name. I mean, at least in the last 10 years, probably one of the most dominant running backs in the NFL. I mean, again, I'm excited for the Derrick Henry if he shows up and he's the same Derrick Henry that launched Earl Thomas into space. That's
Yeah.
that's the Derrick Henry I want. um, and again, it's like you have Lamar Jackson, who is one of the most shiftiest runners in NFL history. Not even counting quarterbacks, just I think one of the most dynamic runners. And then you have Derrick Henry, a north to south runner, who's just going to break you in half. Defenses already have an issue trying to cover Lamar Jackson and his receivers. Now it's like, oh shit, you got a perennial running back, Lamar Jackson back there, and switch out for Keaton Mitchell depending on how he recovers, and who's
Yeah.
covering everybody else. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think we see him on Thursday Night Football to open up against the Chiefs. Like, I think the NFL schedule makers are going to put the Ravens in prime time as much as they can now because you've got two guys that I think in back to back years, offensive player of the year or whatever it was, like 2019, 2020, unbelievable seasons from these guys. And to have them in the same backfield, they're both going to Canton, probably first ballot. It's unbelievable. And it gives the Ravens that oomph that they just didn't have on offense last year beyond Lamar
Mm-hmm.
Jackson. I love Zay Flowers. Odell Beckham I think a lot of his contributions were behind the scenes or between the numbers or in the huddle, that kind of stuff. I kind of think that this move, the window is clearly open, but it's also clearly like this wide. And so I think Derrick Henry like lifts it back open just a little more and they can take advantage of the fact that they have Lamar Jackson
Mhm.
and just go for it, man. Just like and maybe run him more than 6 times in the game against the Chiefs in the championship game. Who knows? Don't waste them.
Here, exactly. And this is my thing. I think with a Derrick Henry type runner, we're in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
That AFC championship game, again, I don't think Derrick Henry's just going to let 6 runs happen without being hurt. There's no way. And again, that bodes well for us. Like I said, there's a lot of things to cover at this point. Now that you have Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, his development is just going to keep growing because now he's going to be able to get more open. Bateman, shit. Hopefully that chemistry is going to be there for him to get open. Not to mention Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews. Again, our receiving core is legit right now, and now our backfield is even more intimidating than it has been in years. Give or take who we draft, we'll probably draft a running back. I have no doubt about it. Linemen and running backs and corners. I think that's the recipe this year.
Yeah, I think the rest of the defense, the rest of the offense is more or less set. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll probably talk about it here shortly, but Trenton Simpson's now the heir apparent to Patrick Queen in the middle of that defense, and you've really got to rely on, and Stone's gone, so now you've got that secondaries. I mean, the guys know that to step up, they know who's going to be there. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it does. It's the outsides, the corners, and it's the offensive linemen
Yeah.
that need to step up and fill the void.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about it for a second because again, the Ravens, whew, we lost some people.
Yeah,
We lost Darby at corner. Geno Stone, which Geno Stone going to Cincy frustrates me, but at the same time, we talked about it all season last year. Geno Stone was a Christmas gift that we didn't realize
yeah,
that we had. To have a third safety, that's a luxury in the NFL. Gus Edwards to the Chargers makes sense. Greg Roman, he's gonna, yeah. I mean, I am interested how that offense is going to work because they have Justin Herbert out there who is a passer. So I'm curious to see how Greg Roman's offense works out for that.
yeah.
But most glaring to me, most glaring, PQ to the Steelers.
Yeah, that one rubs a little different because it's the Steelers. Like I had him pegged for Seattle reuniting with Mike McDonald and just
Mm-hmm.
like that. To me, that made sense in the same way that Bart Scott, Rex Ryan. I kind of is telling that he didn't go there. I think a little bit, and I think a lot of the chatter around Baltimore anyway is how good is PQ away from Roquan because we saw what he was without Roquan, and that made me a little bit like I'm actually not upset we didn't resign him
Yeah.
because he got paid. And you can't give 2 off-the-ball linebackers. I mean, we would not have fucking Derrick Henry here right now if we paid Patrick Queen.
100%.
And I think Trenton Simpson, who showed out against those Steelers, I think that was enough for me without Roquan next to him. That was enough for me to be like, yeah, let's see what he's got. It's a number 2 linebacker in a way who gives a shit. And the Steelers, I mean, I don't doubt Patrick Queen, and he'll probably ball out against the Ravens because of the whole, show out when you see your former team thing. But yeah, I mean that's just the Steelers. Oh, God.
It's weird. So I thought about this, and you kind of alluded to it. You had Trenton Simpson, who virtually had to play that number 1 inside linebacker spot that Steelers game.
Yep.
Dude went off. Man, handled it like a champ. It could not have gone better. And I remember the years before Roquan. Again, we signed Roquan for a reason.
Yeah.
There's a legitimate reason why Roquan Smith is wearing 0 and purple and black. There's a legitimate reason. And I mean, I'm not going to badmouth PQ because what PQ was to Baltimore, he gelled.
Yeah.
He's one of the guys, one of those guys you just rooted for. But again, PQ and the missed tackles, PQ and the misreads. The last season and a half, 2 seasons, he's been able just to be an athlete out there. Now he's going to go to Steelers. I don't necessarily know what their rotation on defense is, but I'd imagine he's going to be, have to be a Roquan player in Pittsburgh. And that's probably not as easy as it is here.
And the thing is, like the Ravens, you need to take a linebacker in the first round. Especially in Baltimore, you expect, and for the first time since Ray Lewis, I think it was, you expect to be that guy. You don't need to go out and spend a second round pick to bring in another linebacker. Like you expected that for him. And I get it. He was raw, like super raw. I think the championship season with LSU was like his second year as a linebacker versus a starter.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the instincts were obviously there, and we saw the instincts on full display. However, he needs to be surrounded by a championship caliber defense like he had in LSU, like he had in Baltimore. for him to be able to flex his muscles and do what he did. So, I mean, in that regard, I'm excited to see what he does in Pittsburgh, but at the same time, I'm not holding my breath that he's going to be able to be that guy that's going to rack up the tackles and take on the double things, and be that guy who's calling the plays. Because I think they took the green dot away from him because he couldn't handle the pressure of it. And I get it. 2020, I think he lost a lot of reps, important reps. They didn't really give him a veteran when he first got here
Yeah.
either, which I think is critical to a young player coming into that position. But and maybe he'll take the next step. But I think he's going to fade like the part that Ed Hartwell did and the Darius Thomas did, and honestly, Bart Scott outside 1 year, like
Mhm.
they're Ellerby is another one. Like they just fell off the face of the planet if they got paid because they played like the Ray Lewis and now the Raekwon Smith effect.
Yeah, I mean, again, inside linebacker is one of the most hardest positions in the NFL, in my opinion. Essentially, you're supposed to be a downhill linebacker, but also be able to play a little safety. Again, it's a different NFL than the Ray Lewis era. And I don't know. Like I said, it's the Steelers defense. They have Minka Fitzpatrick. You have TJ Watt, who is easily one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL right now.
Hmm.
Um, and again, that is a scary three if PQ shows up. But if not, it's going to be a confusing defense for them trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Geno Stone also, I don't know. Again, these two just piss me off that they're going. Geno Stone to Cincinnati. It's like it's like the defense is going to have to revamp everything now because it's like, oh shit, these two players who know our defense is going to our rivals who we have to play 4 times a year now. So yeah, I don't know how
Yeah,
that.
I could see that a little bit. I think what the Ravens do is so much based on personnel.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that I think that's why Stone was so good, is because he didn't have to do anything because he was surrounded by guys like Hamilton,
Yeah.
Roquan. Up the middle, you've had guys like Matabuke who just got paid a couple weeks like last week. And so I think just like having all pros at every level allow you to just be you, and
Yeah.
the be you guys are no longer here because they're replaceable to a point. You can get a they got teams in the seventh round. Like you can just get anybody technically to be a safety on the football team to play opposite. It's like the Ed Reed effect. Like, how many guys did we have against Ed Reed that had, they balled out, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think would have balled out on other football teams.
Yeah.
I can't the names are sort of escaping me, but like there's a bunch. And then like the same with Roquan Smith and Ray Lewis. Like I think you could just pop and play. And now that you've got a Matabuke anchoring that defensive line,
Yeah.
surround them with guys, and the pass rush is going to get home. And that's why guys like Clowney has such a good year. And that's why I think if they put back in that rotation of edge rushers, the Ravens aren't going to have any issue, especially if there's Zach Orr at defensive coordinator.
No, and I think that continuity of coaching is going to help there. Like I said, we have studs at every level of that defense, and it's reminiscent of the old days. It's reminiscent of the old days where you had Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, and you had Suggs on the edge, and you had Haloti Nada up front. It's reminiscent of that. And again, getting Derrick Henry again, I remain cautiously optimistic because again, I hope my doubts are wrong. I hope when we're talking about this shit in December or January, I hope I'm wrong. I hope my doubts that, he's over the hill, this, that, and the other are wrong. Again, we've seen what he can do on a down season last year, and it was pretty damn good. Didn't you have him? You had him in fantasy last year, right?
I had him in fantasy, and the thing about him that's so amazing is that they did not have a quarterback. They
Yeah.
did not have a wide receiver. They had DeAndre Hopkins, but come on, let's be honest. The offense is not good.
Nobody's getting
And
the ball to
their,
him.
their offensive line is trash. You knew he was getting the football, and he still had 1,500. So I mean, to me, like, and there was games that he absolutely took over football game.
Yeah.
And so I have no doubt that in an offense that's built around the run, where you can run without having to like put in five big linemen and prioritize it, like you can. To me, he's just going to have open lanes, and he's going to be fucking going through arm tackles because they've got to play late in the box because they've got to make. Otherwise, you're not tracking down Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
And it's a track race with Flowers, and it's a track race to a point with Bateman. And Isaiah Likely is a freak, and Mark Andrews is a freak. And to be able to take advantage of this whole, what the offense gives you, he is just a different animal. He's Gus Edwards if Gus Edwards took steroids and grew about 6 feet. Like, he's an absolute monster. He's a specimen. He's probably the greatest running back in 10, 15 years. And The fact that we've got him for the next couple of years, just 2 years, they
2 years.
they can run him into the ground, and he
Yeah.
will.
And that's important. Again, we're talking about Derrick Henry, 6'3", 247 pounds.
Yeah,
Holy shit. That's bigger than most linebackers in the NFL today. That Derrick Henry would have been a linebacker in 2000 and a very dominant one because
yeah.
he's just massive. And again, you have most running backs who are PQ size who are like 6'1", 230. What? Like,
It's unbelievable.
again,
It's unreal. And you've got a Heisman now running back again, a Heisman at the quarterback position again. And I think it's just natural born leaders, natural born winners, guys that just know how to get that extra yard when they need it. And I think it's just a steady thing in the backfield for this offense that I think was lacking star power beyond Lamar Jackson last year. Now they literally have a guy that was in the front of fucking Madden in the backfield. So, like, I'm all about it, Christ.
yeah, I'm here for it, And again, 2 years is important because OBJ's contract for what, 19 million for a year meant that we only wanted him for a year. We had no future plays. But Derrick Henry for 2 years, that's important to me because that says, number one, they do feel confident that he has some tread left on the tires. That's number one. Number two, they're saying, hell, if we can get 2 years out of him, there's a possibility we could be in the AFC Championship again another 2 years in a row.
Let's run it back. Yeah, exactly. And my other thing is, this is an offense that it's still Greg Roman rooted. As much as we like Monken, it's still a lot of things there. And they've got a fullback, Patrick Ricard. Here's the thing that I don't think Derrick Henry had for his career was an offense that was built like they were very pro. They were very, drop back. This offense is built for the run. It's built to manipulate the offense and scheme and stuff. And I think it's just going to create holes for him that he's never really had before and get him out into open and get him, and when you pair him with a Keaton Mitchell or you pair him with whoever they draft, and like a lightning to his thunder, the sky's the limit. He's only going to get 15, 20 carries a game, and I think that just allows him to not have to pace himself. You can just go hard in the hole and just go.
Because unlike in Tennessee, like you said, he's not going to be the centerpiece of that offense. Because the beautiful part about the Ravens is that, number one, it's really just a group effort, a true group effort. Obviously, Lamar is the centerpiece of that offense, and it's built around him, and it has been for the last 6-7 years. And again, I'm excited to see a couple of option plays where it's like, you don't know, is he handing it off to Derrick Henry? Because again, as a lineman, as a linebacker, it's like, shit, if I see the ball going to Derrick Henry, I'm going after him. And then I'll see Lamar take off for 60 fucking yards.
And you've got to commit.
What?
You can't, I think it's easier to not like pull the guts out of Keaton Mitchell. But with Derrick Henry, you've got to commit. And even if you commit, you're going to get tossed like a rag doll half the time. And this is the guy that was probably first out of the last out of the tunnel in Tennessee. He's probably third out of the tunnel in Baltimore. That just tells you a little bit about how this offense is built.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, it's gonna be it's already a fun free agency. I'm not gonna lie. Watching some of the signings yesterday was frustrating as fuck because it's like running back after running back after running back, and you're looking at our running back room, and it's like we only have Keaton Mitchell who has 3 good tires left right now. So it's like shit. We're not getting Josh Jacobs. That sucks. Oh, we're not going to get Mixon. Oh, that's crazy. Aaron Jones gone. And Barkley went to the Eagles. Again, it's like, crap, what are we going to do? And everybody, I feel like outside of me, wanted Derrick Henry in Baltimore. And here we are.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's a proven running back. And it's like bringing in I don't know. It's like when the Ravens brought in Sam. The Orioles brought in Sammy Sosa. And you're like, I don't know, it's not even that bad. Like it's like he's still got tread on his tires. It's like when they brought in Miguel Tejada. That's what it reminds me of. Like it's a guy that won the MVP and then a few years later came to the Orioles and had a really good productive 4 or 5 years. This is a little different. It's in football terms, with a 2-year deal for a guy who's going to close out his career in Baltimore probably. And he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer in Canton, probably with Tennessee, but he could win a ring easily in Baltimore. And don't forget, he can chuck it. He had a pass touchdown for me last year. We obviously saw him have a pass touchdown in 2019.
Didn't he score?
It's just it's an added part of his game that I think. But you've got Lamar Jackson, he's probably going to catch that shit. So it's like, let's go. I think it's an exciting hire, and I can't wait for the press conference.
I can't wait for the press conferences. I can't wait for training camp to see him in person.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. I want to stand up against him. I mean, I'm 6 foot like 315.
And,
I want to stand
dude,
against Derrick Henry. Show
yes.
me how big this guy is.
And now, like, I was like, after this whole season, it was just so exhausting to lose the way they did. I was like, it's
Mm.
gonna be hard for me to like commit to a bunch of games next year now because but they got Derrick Henry. So now it's like you're going to watch. It's like a fucking theater. It's theater we're watching at this point. Now it's Derrick Henry
Yeah.
and it's Lamar Jackson, and they can't. They pull you back in, and it's like, God damn, let's go. And they're probably not finished, to be honest with you. They've got a couple more deals up their sleeves and trades up their sleeves, and
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah. I mean, looking around our team, I think obviously we lost Simpson, the guard.
Yeah.
Um, so again, I mean, Ronnie Stanley, he's up in the air. We talked about him last episode. I'm interested to see, in the coming weeks, if we do any O linemen, because again, we have a legit running back. We still
Yeah.
have to protect Lamar Jackson. We're going to need linemen, and we are limited on that right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you had said it. I think they probably, or maybe it was you or Rolf, but they probably do restructure with Stanley. They're not going to give him the what $20 some million he's owed, or they'll cut him after June and eat some of that money. I agree with you. I
Yeah.
do think that they're going to draft somebody. And then they have a guy that's coming up into reserve that they can probably put in there. But yeah, that's a work in progress.
Yeah, they got Voorhees. He's supposed to be coming back.
Yeah.
We'll see how strong his legs are. Again, the way it's looking right now, I'm not looking for the, the best receiver. I'm not looking for the best safety. I'm just looking for us to build beef on the O line and maybe looking to getting a corner because Marlon next year is going to be do or die. I think it's all or nothing for him. So
Yeah, and I think the Ravens have always had success building an offensive line. Like I can't remember. Usually when they do, you're like, "Is it a good line?" And it's like, "It's the top five line." You're like, "How the fuck did that happen?"
wow.
And it's because they make these deals, they trade for guys, they bring them in. I mean, outside the fucker they got from Pittsburgh a couple years ago, I haven't really hated any offensive lineman that they brought in.
Yeah.
And so I do think that they're going to use their first round pick on like a guard or something, and look at the corner there. It's a weird pick, 30. But I mean, they have 8 picks in the draft. They love to get their middle round guys. Marshall Yanda was a third round pick, and I'm excited for it. They know what they're doing. And I think that's where having Ozzy as a consigliere really helps because he's had such great success drafting offensive linemen over the years, starting with Jo. So I mean, bring it, man.
Yeah, let's go. Draft is about we're what, little over a month away now.
What?
Free agency still popping. Whew, man, it's an exciting time for football fans. Again, I said this before. As I've gotten older, I have appreciated the offseason so much more. It is literally exciting. It's like Christmas. You just never know what you're going to get. Every day you wake up and somebody else is going somewhere. Um, any notable signings that stood out to you?
Um, I think the thing that have made me like peak up a little bit was actually T. Higgins announcing that he wants to trade. That's going to significantly lessen the damage that the fucking Bengals can do because I think Tyler Boyd's a free agent. So you're looking at a team that's losing 2 weapons. They lost a third weapon in Joe Mixon. They've got some work to do for a Bengals team that, only really wins when Lamar Jackson's hurt. So we'll see how they do this year.
Yeah.
I thought Saquon Barkley going back home to Philly was really, really intriguing to me. And he's spurning a Tiki Barber got all pissed off with the Giants and actually prompted Lamar Jackson to jokingly say like to what the Stone like why it's funny to me. That's to me, yeah. So Barkley and I think just like Gus Edwards going to the Chargers was interesting.
Gus Edwards just makes so much sense going to the Chargers again.
Yeah,
He was great for Baltimore. Loved seeing him suit up in 35, but it just makes so much sense going to the Chargers, going out to someone who made Gus Edwards who he was. If it wasn't for Greg Roman, Gus
yep,
Edwards wouldn't be the running back he is. Again, it pays to have a offensive coordinator that just loves running the ball 28 times a game. One that stood out to me, a lot of cross division guys. Again, we talked about Saquon.
yeah.
Aaron Jones going to the Minnesota Vikings. That
Yeah.
caught me off guard a lot. um, Tony Pollard going to the Titans was interesting. Cowboys right now sit at with no running backs at all.
Yeah. To me, that was, I think, what? Derrick Henry bought a home in Texas, I think, just
Yeah,
over
what
the
the hell's that
weekend.
about?
And everything was riving up there. And I was like, oh, for God's sakes.
Yep.
They're in trouble because that team needs to run the football to have success. And even then, they don't have that much success. But
Yeah.
the Eagles got a whole fuckload better.
Yeah,
Even with
Eagles actually became very scary. And again, I have a roommate from college who was an Eagles fan, good friend of mine. And we always joke and say one day we're gonna have an I-95 Super Bowl, Ravens versus Eagles.
yeah.
It's it's looking possible, bro. Yeah, no. Carolina traded for Deontay Johnson. That was interesting.
Yeah, they got Bryce Young, a wide receiver, a little bit of a diva.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's a good relationship you want with a young quarterback who probably struggles to get the ball to him. But kudos to them to try to replace DJ Moore, who they probably should have not traded away
No.
to begin with. I think they should have realized that they're going wide receiver, keep your fucking going quarterback, keep your wide receiver. So that kind of mind blowed me a little bit, and they got a lot of work to do, poor bastards. The Houston Texans to me are big losers here. They didn't get their they traded for Mixon, I guess, right? But they
Yeah,
didn't get.
Mixon.
I feel like so they're not done yet. So maybe I take that back. Forgot they got Mixon. That happened
Yeah.
today, right?
Yeah, they got Mixon today. And again, free agency is a multi-week process. You know, there's a lot of time left, and I'm sure we're going to be here week to week just talking about this because something
Yeah.
new just happens all the time. Um, yeah, other than that, any last thoughts, man?
I think the Derrick Henry thing was so funny because in about a span of like 5 minutes, now I would say 3 minutes today, it was like he just like Jimmy Seafood on fucking Twitter. He just like Keaton Mitchell on X or whatever Instagram, and it was like, why would he be doing that? And he probably did that after signing the deal, and immediately was like fucking scrolling and
Yeah.
like just liking Ray Lewis and shit. And not one fucking minute later, Adam Scheffler came out and said Derrick Henry to the Ravens, and it was like, holy shit, there was very little smoke, but there was a whole fuckload of fire, and I think that's really awesome, and I think it's just a great feeling as a Ravens fan to know they're not finished. That last year wasn't a fluke. Like they're trying to go for it in a way that they recognize. They probably had a very long meeting with Bisciotti, who said, "Run the fucking football."
Oh yeah.
What are you guys doing? How can you lead the league in rushing and then not run? So I mean, to throw and also I think they wanted him last year at the deadline, didn't get him.
Mhm.
I think because the owner didn't want to trade him like an idiot. They would have gotten a pick for him instead they got nothing. I guess they got a comp pick, but I mean, they could have got a second round pick for him probably.
You could easily. Um, yeah, no. Derrick Henry to the Ravens. Interested if he's going to take two or try to take Pepe Williams 22.
Yeah,
Because Snoop's gone. Snoop's probably
yeah.
going to be gone. So two is available. He may go single digit, which would be interesting.
What was his number at Alabama? Was it two?
Was it? Let me see. Hold on. Let me look that up real quick. I think it was two, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, this is going to be a hell of a year. I'm super excited about it.
Yep, it
And
was
just
two.
like
He's
Derrick
definitely going
Henry
to
in
get
all
two.
black. Oh my
Oh,
god.
he's definitely going to get two because, again, Snoop's gone. Snoop, I mean, he hasn't been signed anywhere, but the Ravens.
We have not had a running back. Uh, Keaton Mitchell aside, because I don't think he counts for this.
Mhm.
That like can tote the ball 15 times and can have 100+ yards rushing and just break, break. Watch a big man run on the sideline and at the 10-yard line is getting in. Like to have that back in our backfield again, probably for the first time since Ray Rice, Jamal Lewis. Like
I was about to say Jamal Lewis is the last running back that reminds me of Derrick Henry.
yeah, I love Ray Rice, but he was such a shifty running back.
Yeah, Ray
But
Rice
he
was.
had home run power. Don't get me wrong. That motherfucker, like the image I have of him the most was either he diddle up the middle, but really the New England Patriots playoff game and he like broke off that first run. And I haven't seen a running back break away in fucking a decade,
No.
which is an issue for me.
Yeah.
So I think Derrick Henry will have games, a few games anyway, where he really takes over and he has a 40-yard run. And it's like, holy shit. Maybe even game one. I'm excited to see how they game plan him, whoever opens up against us.
Oh, I'm super stoked for it. Do we still have what's Dalvin Cook's like? What's his status? Is he
He's still in the team, I think, right? I think he'd be a
going?
good backup. I wouldn't mind him. Can you imagine?
I say keep him. Keep him. Keaton, Derrick Henry. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's literally an insane backfield, just the running backs room. I mean, again, I was sitting here stressed out, wondering like, who the hell are we going to get? And then it's like, if we do still have Dalvin Cook signed for at least another year or so, you got him, Keaton, Derrick Henry. Again, we're set. We're good.
I do think Keaton Mitchell's going to be one of those guys that starts off on the
Yeah.
IL 4 week thing. I see them drafting a guy late or picking a guy up. Running backs are cheap. And so I think definitely the draft. So I think they'll get somebody late just to kind of fill that role. And he'll be a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. Oh, and don't they have what's his face still? Um,
Justice.
yeah, poor bastard, man. Talk about
And he
unsung
really showed up
hero.
last year too. So
He was an unsung hero. As soon as he had 2 touchdowns in the opener. Like I feel like that's a guy that he's a good mixed pace, change of pace back too.
yeah, I think the Derrick Henry's just signing, just really solidifying that backfield is really taking a lot of anxiety off this offseason. Um, let's just build up that offensive line, look at a couple of corners, and see if we can draft the running back for the distant future and go from there. But again, we are not in a rebuilding year like a lot of people said we would be. We are far from it. We are still contenders. Like you said, I think you were talking about it. It's lined up that I think for sure you were saying that Thursday night season opener, Ravens versus Kansas City Chiefs. That's golden.
That's a moneymaker. I mean, it could
That's
be
a
Buffalo.
moneymaker game.
It could be Buffalo. I think it could be the 49ers. But I mean, I feel like the Ravens make sense for a lot of reasons.
Yep.
With Lamar. It's all that stuff.
Come on, man. Let's do it.
Make it happen. Make it happen. AFC Championship rematch.
I want to see that shit. And hopefully we show up. Hopefully we run with Derrick Henry, run the ball more times. But no, exciting times here in Baltimore for the moment. Ravens locked up Derrick Henry. As we said in the beginning, Derrick Henry, you are a Raven. Welcome to the flock. Baltimore is happy for you. Lost a few people, but again, expendables that we have people that can suit up. Trenton Simpson.
That's the NFL. Yep.
So that does it for our show tonight. We will, like I said, we will be covering free agency pretty in depth throughout the next couple of weeks as we get closer to the draft. For myself and Jordan, don't forget to like and subscribe and stay tuned.